All right, the Sixers take on the Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Thursday, March 31st, 2022. Philadelphia's -10, totals 223.5. Now, the Sixers have had some difficulty covering the point spread here recently. They failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And they also posted a record of just 4-10 against the spread in their last 14. Now, the Sixers have had their issues rebounding the basketball offensively. These guys are actually in the bottom 3 in the NBA in offensive boards per contest. Philly also tends to shut it down offensively late in games. These guys are currently in the bottom 10 in fourth quarter scoring. They're taking on a Detroit team who's actually amongst the better fourth quarter teams defensively in the league, believe it or not. These guys are in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed at home. And I don't know if you realize it, but the Pistons have been absolute covering machines here recently. Now, since February 14th, these guys failed to cover only 2 times, as they covered in over 89% of their contests during that time frame. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Cade Cunningham averages over 17 points a game, along with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Saddiq Bey is scoring over 16 points a game himself, along with 5 boards and a couple of assists. When it comes to covering the number in this one, Detroit is currently 22-16 against the spread in the Little Caesars Arena. Now, injury-wise, Joseph and Livers are questionable. Grant and Diallo are shut down for the season. And when it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Detroit's last 4 fell under the line. Unders against the likes of New York, Washington, and Atlanta. Meanwhile, Philadelphia saw unders recently with the likes of Phoenix, Toronto, and Dallas. I'm going to lean toward Detroit +10 and the under 223.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Bucks versus the Nets, 7:30 p.m. East. Brooklyn's -2, totals 242. Now, Brooklyn did lose recently to the likes of Charlotte, Memphis, and Dallas. They're also in the bottom 10 in the NBA in points allowed per contest at home. They're taking on a Milwaukee team who averages 115 points a game on the road themselves. And they're also in the top 5 in shooting the 3 ball. Drew Holiday is drilling nearly 42% of his 3-pointers. Bobby Portis, he's draining 40% of his shots from 3-land as well. And of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's averaging over 29.5 points a night, along with 11 rebounds. And speaking of boards, the Bucks are currently in the top 3 in offensive rebounding per game. Now, injury-wise, Bembry's still out for the Bucks. Meanwhile, for Brooklyn on the other side, Simmons is still out for them. Now, total-wise, the Nets averaged only 107 points per contest in their last 10 meetings with Milwaukee. As a matter of fact, they went 80% to the under in those 10 meetings. Meanwhile, Milwaukee went 6-3 to the under in their last 9 ball games themselves. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee +2 and the under 242. Next ball game, it is going to be Cavaliers versus the Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Atlanta's -5 with the total at 225.5. Now, the Hawks are on a 3-game winning streak, and they posted a record of 8-3 straight up in their last 11. Atlanta's been pretty good in the State Farm Arena this season as well. They're 22-14 straight up in their own building, and they're leading the NBA in shooting the 3-pointer at home. Trae Young's making nearly 40% of his shots from 3-land, 28 points a night for Trae. Meanwhile, Bogdan Bogdanovic is scoring 15 points a game himself, along with 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, the Hawks are currently in the top 3 in the NBA in home scoring. They're also amongst the best in the East in shooting from the field. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who, on the other side of things, lost 4 out of their last 5. And they failed to cover the number in their last 6 straight. And, despite the strength of their organization being defense, these guys are actually having a pretty tough time defending the 3-ball on the road. They're currently in the bottom 5 in road defensive 3-point percentage. Now, injury-wise, Rondo and Wade are questionable. Mobley is still out. Meanwhile, for Atlanta on the other side of things, Collins is still out for them. Gallinari, Mays, and Johnson questionable as well. Now, when it comes to the total, Atlanta saw their last 3 straight get over the line. 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, 7 out of Cleveland's last 9 got over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta -5 and the under 225.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Clippers versus the Bulls, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Chicago's -3 with the total at 222. Now, the Bulls beat the likes of Washington, Cleveland, and Toronto here recently. They've also played some really good basketball at the United Center. They're 26-10 straight up at home this season, and they're covering the number in 67% of those home contests. Now, DeMar DeRozan, he's scoring over 27.5 points a game, along with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Zach LaVine, he's drilling 40% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring 24 points a game. Now, shooting-wise, there's not many teams in the game who do it better than Chicago. The Bulls are currently in the top 3 in shooting from the field, and they're actually in the top 3 in shooting from beyond the arc as well. They're taking on a Clipper team who lost 8 out of their last 11, and they covered the number only 3 times during that span. And even though they got Paul George back, we're still looking at a Clipper team who struggles grabbing defensive rebounds. These guys are actually in the bottom 3 in the NBA in defensive boards per contest. Now, injury-wise, Boston's out for the Clippers, and when it comes to the total, LA saw their last 3 straight get over the line. Meanwhile, Chicago, on the other side of things, saw overs recently with the likes of New Orleans and Utah. I'm going to lean towards Chicago -3. And the over 222. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Lakers versus the Jazz, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Utah is -13, totals 224.5. And even though the Lakers are in shambles, it's also Utah who's on a 5-game losing streak themselves. And they failed to cover the point spread in all of those losses. And the biggest issue for Utah during this current losing streak is their inability to score points. They've actually been struggling offensively. They average only 103 points a game during that stretch of losses I just mentioned. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, the Jazz actually do tend to break down late in ball games. They currently find themselves in the bottom 10 in the NBA in fourth quarter points allowed. They're taking on a Laker team who, despite struggling themselves, they've covered recently against the likes of Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Toronto. And even though this Laker organization is really in the dumps right now, they've still had little issue scoring points on the road. The Lakers are actually in the top 10 in the NBA in road scoring. When it comes to shooting from the field, they're actually in the top 10 in road offensive field goal percentage as well. Now, Russell Westbrook, he's averaging over 18 points per contest, along with 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Meanwhile, Malik Monk, he's making nearly 40% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging over 13 points a game. Now, injury-wise, LeBron James is out. Gabriel's questionable. Meanwhile, for Utah on the other side of things, Whiteside and Forrest are out. Bogdanovich and House are questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, Utah saw overs recently with the likes of the Clippers, Boston, and Chicago. Meanwhile, the Lakers on the other side went 70% to the over in their last 10. They're also 22-15 to the over as the official road team. I'm going to lean toward the Lakers plus 13. And the over 224.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'll tell you what, this is normally when I promote my website, but you may want to think twice about signing up for a membership here today on BrockPage.com. The reason for that is I utilize the Patreon platform, and the way their billing cycle works is that they actually bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you're thinking about getting a membership here today, don't. I wouldn't do it. Wait until tomorrow. You're actually going to get your max value for your package by signing up on the first of the month. Once again, if you're on the fence, think about signing up tomorrow because Patreon bills you the day you sign up, then the first of every month following that. So you're going to get billed today and then again tomorrow. I don't control it. It's Patreon. It's the way they do it. So get your max value. Sign up tomorrow. But anyway, guys, I always tell folks in every single video, by the way, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But anyway, if you do want to see my current personal bet record, you can do that for free right now by going to BrockPage.com. You can look at that for free right now. It's located right there on the homepage. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on my YouTube channel and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. What I do on BrockPage.com is actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. Now, we currently have over 975 members who are signed up and active on that website. But most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.